The technique is now shown in slow motion. The technique you have just seen is called Encircle Wrist Take Arm. Using this chin-on technique is actually a basic form of exercise. In this Encircle Wrist Take Arm grabbing technique, the most important characteristic is forming a bow-like shape. The bending of your opponent's hand should form a bow-like shape. Each opposing direction must be coordinated together. When grabbing your opponent's hand, be sure to place his fingers on the palm area, using the palm to expand and continue to expand. Then use both hands to form a bow shape. Then close into the center. At the same time, lower your body. Your weight must be lowered. In the real world, we wouldn't normally apply this technique when we shake hands with other people, but I am just showing you a basic chin-off form of exercise. If you understand this kind of chin-off technique, you can acquire a better understanding of leverage, torque, and pressure points. The results will be accurate grabbing of the pressure point, controlling of the wrist, and leverage usage. When applying this technique, pay attention with the top and bottom movements. The top and bottom movements should be coordinated. Don't just look at the hand that is moving. The entire energy has traveled from my lower body to my hands. This makes this technique much more effective.
Hello, I'm Mikey. I just want to explain Master Wang's move on his Tina Suenan. The expansion that he does on the hand move versus other masters that I've met is technique. And technique, while he's bending your hand, he's using two directions at the same time. Most people that do Chin Na Suenas, they only find the lock and they stop right there and they use force. He gets full expansion and full lock and keep passing it and move it to any direction he wants. Very unique, very different.
The technique is now shown in slow motion. Technique 2, Twist Arm Lock Elbow. This technique is called Twist Arm Lock Elbow. The object of this technique is to cross the opponent's arms in different directions. You maintain contact and leverage while shifting your weight and throwing your opponent to the ground. At the finish of the move, you switch hands and grab his opposite elbow joint. The hand placement is important as it creates both a leverage and a lock. The important part is at the beginning when your opponent grabs your arm. You must raise your elbow, at which point your opponent will counter. This is when you quickly grab his wrist and cross his arms to form a lock. You then shift your body to the left. Don't counter your opponent, but expand. You must turn your waist and lower both your body and your weight. Do not lose contact with your opponent's arms. Push your right knee up against his triceps so that he cannot roll or escape. Use his left arm for leverage. Continue pulling both arms in opposite directions. Notice when I switch hand positions. This is a dangerous point in the technique. You must be careful not to lose contact or leverage. The goal of this technique is to acquire leverage and control, breaking the arms at the pressure point.
This move has the two hands going at the same time. When they cross up, your joints are being locked. And when your arms are being crossed in the air while you're still standing, your internal area of your chest area is being locked as well. When you go down to the ground, your arms are still being crossed and your joints are still being turned. The feeling is it's internal, you're being locked up and your air is being taken away. At the same time, you feel your joints being snapped on the way down.
The technique is now shown in slow motion. Technique 3. Lock arm, push ear. This technique is called lock arm, push ear. First, when the opponent grabs your neck, you then cross your arm underneath him and grab his opposite elbow. You then return to your starting position while pulling his elbow across your body. This creates the initial off-balancing, causing your opponent to release his grip. You then lean your upper body forward and press your neck against your opponent's hand. Quickly use your left hand to grab the wrist. Capture your opponent's fingers in your palm, applying a chin-na. The most important step is to encircle his elbow upward and then press down. If you just lift up without completing a circular movement, your opponent is likely to counter. It is the circular movement that shifts your opponent's balance first forward and then up and backward over their center. If this is not done correctly, the opponent can counter and be difficult to control. If accomplished properly, even a larger, more powerful opponent can be leveraged. When pulling his elbow to the side, your palm turns under his elbow, which makes it hard to detect your direction. Then expand your body and shift to the left. Doing this will lock your opponent. When leveraging your opponent down to the ground, drop your right knee and apply pressure to the side of his ribs. In this technique, I feel several different sensations on my body. As I'm extending pressure on his neck, he neutralizes my power by shifting me to the side and moving my elbow up, which also locks my hip, and then he brings it up and he locks my arm and he brings it back down. At the same time, he's applying a chin-na to my wrist and my hip. He's driving me down to the body. Then he drives his knee into my ribs, and at the same time he brings his arm over my head. And it's really interesting, all the different forces being applied, because your body is neutralized. From going forward, all of a sudden you're being turned and pushed down into the ground, and your elbow's coming over your head, and it all happens very quickly.